Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today we have another great guest on, Lina Zdruli. And I am excited to talk about her business because of two reasons. One is I think the name, with it being building a brand is something that becomes challenging. But one of the things that she's done is created a word so that she can uniquely build her own brand. And you know what? Who doesn't love a good spread when it comes down to a nice treat and a meal that you can enjoy? So, welcome to the show, Lina.
Thank you so much for having me, Terrell.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump deep into your business and the story there, can you tell us a little bit about your background and, what you were doing before starting this business?
Definitely. And funny enough, my background has nothing to do with CPG or the food industry. I am actually had a career in international relations, development, and humanitarian work. Um, I went to Georgetown for my graduate degree, studying exactly that, and sprinkled in with some small and medium enterprise, but mainly refugee economic support work. And I was actually working at the World Bank when I started Dafero. So it's interesting to me coming to this industry, the natural food industry and the consumer packaged good industry, from such a different background where things like branding don't really matter, and how we think about logistics is so different from how we actually put a label on a product. But for me, my background really hones in one, the health mission of the startup, because we only use dates as a natural sweetener. One, because they're the richest in antioxidants out of all the dried fruits, but two, they're naturally low glycemic. And taking into account the pandemic that is basically caused by diabetic and pre-diabetic different health issues, that was really important to me. And two, the business started off with a mission. It almost started off as a nonprofit that happened to grow because people love the product. As I mentioned, I was working at the World Bank. I was working on large-scale refugee economic support programs. And I came across this product from a personal need. And I thought, what if we could have local refugee women make the date spread? And that's how it started. And then so much has changed since, but the mission remains. And so now I often get asked, why does a date spread have a high-tech education platform for refugees? How does that even make sense? And I find that it really takes into account my background and what was thinking about things in a large system, and then how does it make sense from a small product perspective.
Gotcha. And I think that's very interesting because it's such a big challenge that you're tackling with, multiple issues of helping refugee and also with providing a healthy option for people. Now, one of the things I'm always curious is as you think about, the two problems, like, okay, healthy option, being able to have a positive impact for refugees, like, how did you get comfortable with like, hey, you know what, this is the right mixture of the two? Because I think that there's so many ways that you can try to address those two problems. So what was it really that really, I guess, was there a moment that caused you to say, you know what, this is the way we're going to go about it?
Funny enough, in the very beginning, I joke that we were operating as an NGO and taxed like a company. Because I was so close, and I still am so close to the mission, but I hadn't yet refined what's the best way to go about impact. And how I thought about impact was one type of small, simple, unique product with people face to face. But there's only so many lives you can touch. And as we were working with the women, it turned out that most weren't as interested in the hourly employment. They cared about it, of course, they wanted a job, but eventually they could get a job elsewhere. What they really cared about was the training programs that we offered, the community program. That was very unique. And so how I thought about it in the beginning, like, let's all meet 5, 10 people in a commercial kitchen on the weekends and you get to work and we make this. it turned out that what people really cared about was different. And so that's how I've always responded. I've always responded with thinking by design. I used to run thinking by design workshops for international development and social good. So I thought, let me take this methodology that I teach and apply it to my own self. And that's how everything in Dafero runs, from the social side to the like very tangible product side. This is our final label, final for now. I don't want to do another rebrand for years, hopefully a decade. But to get to this label, it took so much. And to get to the refined impact model that we have on education took such a long time. So what I think in entrepreneurship in general, whether it be even if you're running a nonprofit, I think flexibility and being able to do like rapid fire testing, rapid fire testing. It's not like we built out a factory and then realized that actually people like fixed bread or something different. No, it was always let's test it out with exactly who's going to use it. Same with the impact. I didn't build out a whole program and then went to a community and said, okay, I built this for you, here you go. All of the courses that we create are built with the communities and built with the nonprofits. Same with the product. Went through 30 different iterations of the recipe. I think that took a lot of time. It took me 2 years to basically refine to this model and get to only now in November, we're at a co-packer, and same with our EdTech program, High Scale. So it took a lot of time and effort up front. But I think what that allows me now is to, if I put some more fuel, it's infinitely scalable. And putting that effort up as opposed to the other way around. And so that's a very long-winded answer. But just to give you a bit of context at how it started and how it's going right now, it might as well be two different entities, really.
And I think that's something that I commonly hear. I mean, as we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, I mean, just that, you know, that getting into that mode where you're constantly testing and you're open to change. It's like, you know, you stay true to your mission, but you're constantly testing to see, okay, all right, what's the most effective way to achieve the mission? And I think it's brilliant what you talked about with, like I said, you had an idea about, hey, whether they wanted the gainful employment, then it was just like, no, the programs and the education piece. So can you tell us a little bit about how, you know, that side of the development and the training, how that works?
Definitely. So right now, what we do is create exactly these high-scale education programs for refugee and trafficked women specifically. Although when COVID happened, we created the first physician and expert approved course on COVID and a second one on the mental health effects of COVID for all families worldwide. I can drop a link, and it's for free in dozens of different languages. But basically how our education works is we look into what type of pre-employment and pre-community insertion skills are missing. In my case, the women that I was working with face-to-face in the kitchen, many of them didn't have a bank account. And they would be asked to be paid in cash or say, oh, can you just transfer it to my husband's bank account? I thought that was very problematic. So I found myself every time having to teach her, you know, it's unsafe for you to have a week or two of salary on public transit. And it's important for you to have your own bank account. After having to always teach that, we made a course on everything about financial literacy. So that's really how the programs work. It's mobile responsive, as well as works on any type of smart device. The courses are translated in dozens of different languages. They're super easy to use. It's made for everything from lower literacy individuals to higher literacy. Think of it like a Coursera for life skills is basically how it is. Many of the courses are interactive, very visual. We're working on even getting perhaps courses that are where you can just listen to them, because some of the individuals we worked with could not read or write. And so they need to listen to the content material. And I think we don't really appreciate how important and how lacking it is. And and as opposed to thinking of things in our perspective and, oh, this is so basic. Well, when you come from, let's say, a traumatic background or from a war-torn area, or if you were a 9-year-old girl that was taken from her family and put into human trafficking, you are missing a lot of those life skills as a 21, 22-year-old reinserting into community. So that's really the type of courses and development that we work on, but from a help yourselves perspective. We teach how to be successful independently in the community, what's needed for the workforce. We're hoping to create work-specific programs as well, so that someone can take the course online and they're ready to be in food service, or they're ready to be a cook, or many other different professions.
Awesome. I think that is amazing. And I love the, like I said, just the reality and the truth that, that sometimes we do, I think, get overcomplicated. And I know I challenge myself and my team with that, is that although, like I said, I'm a CPA and have a master's degree in accounting, it's just like realizing that the people you're working with, they may not understand it at that level. So how do you really speak to people on the level that they're on? Because if the goal is about helping them, you got to speak on their language and their level. So I love that. So how can people find you online for the training and find you on social media?
Yeah, so on social media, we're everywhere as Dafero Dates, so Dafero Dates. On our website, it's just dafero.com. There are links to the social impact as well. But if people want to access the courses directly, they can go to Kura, Kura Foundation.thinkific.com. That's where all of our programs are hosted, and Kura Foundation by Dafero is the arm through which we create these impact programs.
Awesome. Awesome. And I want to ask about with the spread now, how many different flavors do you have, or does it come in one flavor?
We have 2 flavors right now. We're about to go into a program where we launch more seasonal flavors, but we have cinnamon and then the original flavors. As I mentioned, we're about to launch this program where every season we launch a limited edition fun new flavor.
Okay, awesome. Now, I guess, which one, I would say, do you tend to go to the most, or are you like kind of equal to both?
I am obsessed with cinnamon. So I'm the type of person that if the recipe calls for a teaspoon, I put a tablespoon. So I love cinnamon, and actually I'm super passionate about our cinnamon flavor because I went to Indonesia myself to source the cinnamon from the best quality we could find, and I just find that it has a different smell and flavor as opposed to what I would traditionally find in the supermarket. So I love the cinnamon flavor. I would actually say right now it's our best seller. And then the original is more versatile in the sense that if you do want to make a more savory recipe, sometimes people send to me really fun recipes like salad dressing, or even like a pizza topping with fig and prosciutto and brie. Then the original is more adaptable.
Gotcha. I'm starting to like the cinnamon one. That sounds like a great treat. Now, I'm curious as to what's one of your favorite things to add the cinnamon spread with?
Okay, I'm one of those people that has a very regimented breakfast. So every single day I have protein pancakes for breakfast, and I get teased by all my friends and my family, but I have to have protein pancakes and coffee. And so I'll have my protein pancakes with the cinnamon date spread, and then almond or cashew butter.
Nice.
That's my favorite. But then I have a friend, she makes these gorgeous yogurts and oatmeal and smoothie bowls. She's just so talented. And every time she shares me pictures, and I think, okay, that's really nice. Maybe I can switch up my breakfast routine from pancakes exclusive. But I would say, yeah, I'm a pancakes person.
I would definitely say a woman after my own heart. People laugh when they ask me like, "What's your favorite food?" I tell them, actually, pancakes are my favorite food. So I love it.
It's the best, right?
Sometimes people laugh when like I've traveled to different places and like I'll specifically look for like pancake spots. And they're like, who travels and looks for pancake spots? I'm just like people who like pancakes.
But the fun thing is that everyone makes them differently. I when I went to the Caribbean a while back, they made these banana pancakes with cassava flour, and I'd
Oh,
never tried it like that before, and it was incredible. And when they told me it was so healthy, and it tasted like these luxurious, fluffy, like very unhealthy pancakes. And you never know what you'll find out and how people make them differently. So I feel you on the pancake hunting while traveling.
awesome. Well, before we wrap up, well, one other question is, so if they're interested in the spreads, where can they get the spreads?
We sell them on our website, dafero.com. It's also available on Amazon. So if you just type up Dafero date spread, it pops up on Amazon. And we're also in a few stores in the DC area, particularly the Made in DC stores. And we're working now with retailers to expand into physical presence as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Now, before we wrap up, the last question I like to ask is, when you think about your journey of where you've been and you think about where you are now, what's two lessons that you've learned that you would share with other business owners?
I would say the first is to never limit yourself with what's possible with business. When I first started Dafero, and honestly, even now, sometimes people tell me, why don't you just focus on having a nonprofit or just focus on having a business and then move on to the other thing? And I find that extremely limiting, and I'm so happy that I persisted and I didn't listen to those voices in the beginning, because I don't think I'd be as passionate about Pharaoh if I was just doing one or the other. Where I find the magic happens is where business meets a social or environmental mission. And so I would really say, like, if you start a business with that intention, don't let people persuade you to not do it or to just go in one or the other direction. Ultimately, you can't do the things you can do as a social enterprise, as a nonprofit, right? You have to wait for grants and donations and whatnot. So that's one thing. Two, I would really say, going back to the adaptability, how I started and how I'm working on things now, it's really two different planets. And had I been attached, I was passionate about the mission, but the execution has changed a lot throughout this time. So I stayed true to the mission of combining these two worlds, but I really would say being adaptable and listening to whoever your user is and the customer is. If I was fixated on, oh, the recipe that I chose and I made this date spread, that's how we should commercialize it, we wouldn't appeal to everyone that's like now. In the end, it's the customer who has to love it, not me. In the end, it's the person who's using the courses that has to love them, not me. So I would really say find like the true star of the mission and then adapt the execution so that it makes perfect, really, market and commercialization sense.
Awesome. Well, Lina, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really enjoyed hearing your story, the mission that you're on, and hearing about a amazing new product that I definitely want to try. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.